This video, we're doing 9.2, so we're going to be graphing some quadratics. Okay, so this is an example of a type of quadratic in real life, so it's going to look something like this U shape. Here's some more examples: shooting a basketball, the arc, dirt biking, if we're in France, Eiffel Tower, McDonald's. So we got quite a few there. Okay, so quadratic function can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, which is also called standard form, so we learned that last time. Okay, parabola is the graph of the quadratic function. Okay, so it's going to be that U shape. The axis of symmetry, if we fold this in half, it's going to be the line that sits in the middle that creates the symmetry. Okay, so this is going to be used negative b over 2a. Okay, the vertex is the lowest or highest point on the parabola that we will find from the AOS, and it's always an ordered pair. So in this case, it's the high point. It'll make more sense once you do a couple of them. Okay, so if I would graph this out, let's just say I have an x and y, and we do negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Because you can always use points to plug in and check to see. So if I plug in negative 2, I'd get y equals 2 times negative 2 squared plus 2 times negative 2. So y equals 2 times 4 minus 4. So y equals 8 minus 4, so we know this is 4. Okay, now if I plug in negative 1, I'm going to erase this and plug in negative 1. I'm going to get y equals 2 times 1 minus 2, so that's going to be 0. If I plug in 0, boop, we're going to get 0 squared plus 2 times 0. Anything times 0 is 0, so we're going to get 0. Okay, let's plug in 1. Well, 1 squared is 1, so we're just going to have 2. And then plus 2 times 1, which is 2, so this is just 4. Now, if I plug in 2, I'm going to get y equals 2 times 2 squared plus 2 times 2. So y equals 2 squared is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 4, so that's going to be a big one. Okay, so if I go ahead and graph this, I got negative 2, 4, so negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like right there. Okay, negative 1, 0 is right here, 0, 0 is right here. And then I got 1, 4, which is there. Okay, if I wanted to connect my dots then, it's going to look something like this. Okay, so this is going to be a minimum. My lowest point is a minimum. Okay, so this next one, I'm not going to go through all the x's and y's, but it's going to be the same thing, but it's going to look like this. Okay, which is going to be a maximum. So my highest point is going to be at a max. Okay, to find the AOS, or axis of symmetry, you use the equation negative b over 2a. The a and b come from the standard equation, so ax squared plus bx plus c. So it comes from the numbers in front of my x squared and x. To find the vertex, plug the AOS, so what you find here, into the original equation and solve for y. And then we write it as, this is supposed to say a point. Okay, the vertex is always a point. Okay, so in this picture you can see my parabola is right there. Okay, so my AOS is negative b over 2a. So let's go ahead and try it. So my a for this is negative 1 because it's the number in front of my x squared. My b is 4 because it's the number in front of x. And my c is negative 1. Okay, so if I plug in my negative b, I'm going to get negative 4 over 2 times my a, which is negative 1. Okay, so negative 4 over negative 2. So my AOS for that is 2. Okay, to find the vertex, we plug the AOS in. when we start graphing them, it'll make more sense on why we plug the AOS in to get the vertex. But let's go ahead and plug 2 into my equation. So I'm going to get y equals negative 2 squared plus 4 times 2 minus 1. So negative 2 squared is negative 4 because that negative's on the outside, plus 4 times 2, which is 8, minus 1. So my y, negative 4 plus 8 is 4, minus 1 is 3. Okay, but we have to write it as a point. So I plugged in 2 for my x, so I'm going to get 2 comma 3 as my point. Okay, so let's try this next one. So my a equals 2, my b equals 4, and my c equals negative 2. So negative b over 2 times a, so we got negative 4 over, okay, and then 2 times 2 is 4. So we know this is x equals negative 1. Okay, now we got to plug it in for my vertex, so y equals 2 times negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1 minus 2. So y equals negative 1 squared is 1, times 2 is just 2. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4 minus 2. So y equals 2 minus 4 is negative 2, minus 2 is negative 4, but we have to write it as a point, so my answer, is negative 1, negative 4. Okay, so to find that, this is how we're graphing. So we're going to find the AOS and the vertex first. Then we're going to find the y-intercepts by plugging in 0 into my equation. Okay, then we're going to use the AOS to mirror points, and we're going to plug and chug to get a couple of extra points to graph it. Okay, this might be overwhelming because you're like, oh my god, this is so much information. But I promise once you do it enough times, it becomes a heck of a lot easier. So let's try one. So my AOS is x equals negative b over 2a. Remember, AOS is the axis of symmetry. So say I have this graph, and I do this. Okay, this is my AOS right here. So if I folded that in half, like hot dog style, this is going to overlap this over here. So they're going to overlap each other. Okay, so let's go ahead. A equals 1, because there's a 1 in front of my x squared. B equals negative 6, and C equals 4. So when I put a negative in for a negative, it's going to be a positive. So we got 6 over 2 times A. So 2 times 1 is just 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, so my axis of symmetry is at x equals 3. So I'm going to go ahead and point that. So 1, 2, 3. Here is x equals 3. Okay, I'm going to draw my axis of symmetry, my AOS. So it's going to fold over that line. Okay, so to find my vertex, I got to plug this into my equation. So I'm going to put in y equals 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 4. So y equals 3 squared is 9, 6 times 3 is 18 plus 4. So y equals 9 minus 18 is negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. Let's write it as a point. So we plugged in 3, so that means my x value is 3, my y value is negative 5. So we got 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and my vertex always sits on my dashed line. Okay, so we do this dashed line at x equals 3. Then we plug in 3 into my vertex to figure out where my vertex sits on my dashed line. Okay, and that's going to either be my maximum or my minimum. Okay, so to find my y-intercept now, we're going to plug 0 in for x. So we're going to get y equals 0 squared minus, 6 times 0 plus 4. So basically 0 squared is 0 minus 6 times 0, which is 0. So my y equals 4. So at 0, 4 is crossing my y-axis. So I'm going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it crosses right there. Okay, here's where you can do a little mirroring. Okay, so since it is 3 away from my dashed line, I can go 3 the other way to from my dashed line to get that point. Okay, and now we got to pick some points that are in between here. Okay, so that we can figure out where our other spots are. So how about we do, if I have x, y, I'm going to change colors here. Let's do 1. Let's just do 1. Okay, so let's plug in x equals 1, and x equals 2. Okay, so we're going to plug it into my equation. So y equals 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 4. Y equals 1 squared is 1. Negative 6 times 1 is negative 6 plus 4. So y equals 1 minus 6 is negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1. So my point then is 1, negative 1. So let's go 1, negative 1. Okay, that's 2 spots away from my dash line, so I can do 2 spots away from my dash line and get my next point. Okay, so I really only need 5 lines to be able to know which way my graph is going. Okay, so it's going to be opening up because it's eating upward. Okay, and it is a minimum because my vertex is at my lowest point. So let's try another one. Okay, A equals 2, B equals negative 4, and C equals negative 5. My AOS, so my axis of symmetry, is x equals negative b over 2a. So x equals positive 4 over 2 times 2. So 4 over 4, so 1. Okay, so I'm going to do x at x equals 1. I'm going to do my axis of symmetry. Okay, now I have to figure out where my vertex is on that point. So the point that's going to be my max or min, I got to plug in x equals 1 into my equation. So y equals 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 minus 5. So y equals 1 squared is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, negative 4 times 1, negative 4, minus 5. 2 minus 4 is negative 2, minus 5 is negative 7. So my point then, because our vertex is always a point, is going to be 1, negative 7. So it's going to be on, I'm going to change colors. So my vertex, I'm going to make pink here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's my vertex. Some people think of it as when you spell out vertex, that V kind of looks like the parabola, and that's the low or high point on my parabola. So if that helps, you can think of it that way. Okay, so now I got to figure out my y-intercept, so where it crosses my y-axis. So my y-axis, x is always equal to 0. Okay, so to find the y-intercept, we're going to plug in 0, because anything that sits on my y-axis is going to have to be x equal to 0, so that's why we plug in 0. So y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 4 times 0 minus 5. So y equals 2 times 0 squared is 0, minus 4 times 0 is still 0. So 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So we cross at negative 5, so let's go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can mirror it. So it's 1 away from my dash line, so let's make another one 1 away from my dash line. Okay, and now we need to think of one more point that we can use to plug in. So let's plug in one that a point's not sitting on. So how about x equals 4? Okay, and we're going to plug it into the equation. So let's do y equals 2 times 4 squared minus, I'm going to run out of space there, so I'm going to erase it and write it up here. So y equals 2 times 4 squared minus 4 times 4 minus 5. 4 squared is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. 32 minus 16 is 16. Minus 5 is 11. Okay, so 4, 11. So let's see if we can fit that on our graph. So 1, 2, 3, 4, up 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's just off my graph a little bit there. So it's going to go up like so. Okay, so it's a minimum because it's the lowest point. And again, it's opening up because it's eating upward. It's opening up. Okay, so let's try this one. Okay, so in this one, x equals negative b over 2a again. So a is going to equal 2. I actually don't have anything in front of just my x, so my b is just equaling 0, and my c is equal to negative 2. Okay, so let's plug it in. So x equals 0 over 2 times 2. Okay, so my x is just going to equal 0. So now let's find, my AOS is then going to be x equals 0. So it's going to be a dash line on x equals 0. Okay, now let's figure out my vertex on that point. So let's plug in. So y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 2. So y equals negative 2. Write it as a point, so 0, comma 2, or 0, comma negative 2. So then at 0, I'm going to put it in yellow here, 0, comma negative 2 is right there. Okay, so that's my vertex. To find the y-intercept, you plug in 0 again, so we're going to get y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 2, so y equals negative 2, so it's 0, negative 2, which is at that same point. But I need at least 5 points to be able to draw this. So this time when I'm doing my x and y, I need a couple more points. So let's do 1 and 2, because we can always mirror them. So let's try putting in 1. So y equals 2 times 1 squared minus 2. So y equals 2 minus 2, y equals 0. Now let's replace that 1 with a 2. 2 squared is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So y equals 6. So if I plug these in, I'm going to get 1, 0, which is right there, around right there. And then 2, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that area. Okay, so I'm 1 away on this spot right here. So I'm going to go 1 away the opposite direction. And then I'm 2 away on this spot here. So I'm going to go 2 away on the opposite side of my dashed line. And then I'm going to draw my point. Okay, so it's opening up again. And it is like minimum again. So we've had quite a few minimums, but it's a minimum because my vertex is the lowest point. Okay, so we got x equals negative b over 2a again. A is negative 2. B is 0 again because we don't have a number in front of just x. And c is 4. Okay, so x equals 0 over 2 times negative 2. So x equals 0 again. So let's draw our axis of symmetry. Okay, we got to plug in x equals 0 to find my vertex. Okay, so y equals 4, so that point is 0, 4. I'm going to change colors. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my vertex. Y-intercept, we'd plug in 0 again, so basically do the same thing here. So my y-intercept is going to be at that 4. Okay, and now more points. So how about we do 1 and 2 again? Because technically we only need to plug in 2 points because, again, we can mirror them. So if I plug in 1, so I'm going to get negative 2 times 1 squared plus 4. 1 squared is 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. So y equals 2. Now let's plug in 2 for this. Okay, 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to get 1, 2. Let's mirror it. So it's 1 away, so let's go 1 away again. And then 2, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's 2 away, so I go 2 away again. Okay, so this one is opening down. It's looking downward, okay? So it opens down, and this is a max because my vertex here is my highest point. Okay, so we got 2 more examples, so bear through here. So if A equals 1, B equals 0 again, and C equals 4. Okay, so x equals negative b over 2a. We know it's a 0 on top, so it's x equals 0. Let's plug in 0. So y equals 4, so my point is 0, 4. So the axis of symmetry, and then let's go up 4 to put our vertex. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, my y-intercept, we'd plug in 0, so it's going to be at the same point. So for testing points, let's try 1 and 2 again. Okay, so 1 squared is 1, plus 4 is 5. 2 squared plus 4, so 2 squared is 4, plus 4 is 8. Oops, 8. So we got 2, 8. So let's do 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right there, and then we can mirror it. So 1 away, let's go 1 away again. And then 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 2 away, so let's go 2 away again and go ahead and go up. Okay, it's a minimum because my vertex is at the lowest point, and it is opening upward. Okay, so this one I want you to label them. So my axis of symmetry is where it folds over the dashed line. So this is always at x equals, because our x equals is always going up and down if we remember the skier that falls off and dies. So it's at x equals 1. Okay, vertex is my lowest or highest point. That sits on the axis of symmetry, so this point. So it's going to be 1, and then it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so 1, comma, negative 8. Because remember, it's always a point. My y-intercept is where it crosses my y-axis at. So it's going to be x equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 0, negative 6. And my x-intercepts are where it crosses my x-axis at. So we got negative 1, 0 for this point, because it goes to the left 1. And then it goes 1, 2, to the right 3. And then it doesn't go anywhere on my y-axis, so 3, 0.